Shalom, shalom, shalom. Yes, right, y'all. I want to really play that whole thing. This is Yohanathan that with you here. Y'all with your Christian. Shalom, King. Peace be on you on the 29th of January, 2023 of the year of their Lord. Because they do the entire Beatitudes, so I might have to do that one in a few weeks. I really would like to play the whole thing, but it's too long. Baruch atah. Baruch atah. That means blessed are you. In the language of slavery, it means the Beatitudes. And yes, I like the way we say it because it means that's how your attitudes ought to be. This is how your attitudes ought to be. Beatitudes. And man, you're going to learn something today. I learned a little something myself already in researching this. Because we're going to find out what Yahweh really meant. Boots on the ground at the time when he was saying this, how those hearing this sermon understood it. And it is jaw-dropping, it is shocking. Baruch atah, blessed are you. This is the Beatitudes. This is how your attitudes ought to be. Now, last week we talked about one of the things about learning and understanding what Yahweh came here for. Why he came here on this earth, what he came here to do, and we in this series, B'milo Otah, in his own words, what we're saying here in Yahweh Christians is that he is teaching us the refreshed understanding of how we are to have access to his Father. And that is through, he is the reconciling vehicle, medium back to his Father that we lost in the Garden of Eden at the tree of Torah, being as Mother Hawa was beguiled by the serpent. And so our sins have separated us from Yahweh since then. Then he set up a Mishkan, a temple system of having access to him via blood and stone animals. Why? Because we succumbed ourselves to an animal in the Garden of Eden, so he used animals to bring us back. And now Yahweh Shua, lo and behold, he is here, and he's giving us a refreshed understanding of access to his Father. In Proverbs 25, verses 2 and 3, the wise Shlomo says, it is the glory of Yahweh to conceal a matter, and it is the wisdom of kings to find it out, to search it out. You claim to be priests and kings and queens of the Most High Yah today. You are newly awakened new brews in these camps, these Torah camps. You claim to be kings and queens, then it should be a glory to you. It should be a beautiful thing to you to search out these things that Yahweh hides. When you met your wife or your husband or your significant other, you don't know everything about them as soon as you meet them. It's the same thing with Yahweh, and you can't know him anyway through all the ages of eternity. But we are to have a personal relationship with him. And in doing that, we uncover layers and layers and layers of understanding of him. So Yahweh tells us the end from the beginning, but like I said, with a 3-year-old, you can tell them how they were produced and how mommy and daddy got her there. She ain't gonna understand it, even though you tell her the whole thing. So it takes maturation to understand the whole thing, and this is what we are doing here. We are breaking the glass of the onion. We are understanding. We are coming more and more into the layers of it. We're understanding it more and more. And if you are indeed a king, as you claim to be, or a queen, it should be your glory to understand this, to have an out-of-the-box thinking of the Most High Yah. We've been trained with compulsory education on how to think. But this word of Yahweh is living, and as you understand it, if we would access ourselves to the original words to get original truth, which is the theme, the very foundation of Yahweh for Christians is built on, you will have a greater understanding on what you think is a simple thing. In the Baruch atah, the Beatitudes, blessed are you, I begin the reading in Matthew 5, verses 1 through 12. And seeing the multitudes, he went up on the mountain, and when he was seated, his disciples came to him. Then he opened his mouth and taught them, saying. So we're saying his disciples, so it's not just his 12. Remember, he had hundreds of disciples in the beginning. And then we got all these souls at the base of the mountain. Okay? And we're going to talk about this, how this relates to the so-called Old Testament. Baruch are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of Hashemayim. Baruch are those who mourn, because they will be comforted. Baruch are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Baruch are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they will be filled. Baruch are the merciful, because they will be obtained mercy. Baruch are the pure in heart, in lib, because they will see Elohim. They will see Yahweh. Baruch are the peacemakers, the shalom makers, for they will be called the sons of Elohim. Baruch are those who are persecuted for Sadiq's sake, for theirs is the kingdom of Hashemayim. Baruch are you when they will revile you and persecute you and say all kinds of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, because great is your reward in Hashemayim, because so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Wow, that's a whole lot. We're going to break that down, because we all accept that today in 2023, the year of their Lord. And it's not, we think we understand all this. We say, yeah, we understand this. This makes sense. But pick yourself up and put yourself down at that time, in real time, when you are poor, hungry, destitute, thirsty, and making it just from day to day, under the oppression of Roman rule, and have limited access to the knowledge and understanding. Right now, we got to add our smartphones with our two dumb thumbs. We can know anything. Right here, you don't have no Bible at your hip. You don't have there's no access. You can't just open up a Bible and read it. You have to go to the temple. Well, this is their modern times, where they had synagogues now. So they had more than one place to go to at that time. So that was like, wow, that was modern. But here you're hearing this man talking about they're blessed, when every day they're working daily just to eat. Where I didn't work this weekend. I still ate both days. You know, we take vacations. You get 30 days. I get 30 days vacation a year, and I got almost 500 hours of sick time. Then I got personal days. Then I have like almost 10 holidays. Well, I could go 6 months almost without even working, and still eat and pay mortgage. They didn't have that kind of thing going on back then. And this is a different world that we don't realize, that daily was a struggle for the routine brew, Hebrew she-brew on the streets of Jerusalem. And we got this man up there saying they're blessed. And we're going to talk about what type of people these were that was at this mountain, and how that correlates to the end times, okay, when it's time to be regathered. Now, like I said, I've been saying since been on this mic, that the language, this English language that we are speaking now, which is the most powerful language on the earth, has the most influence of any language on the earth, is this language that we got under the flag of slavery. You didn't start speaking English until you got in the slavery. Got on the ships, the Centipede, the Maria, and all that other. Actually, the first ship was the good ship Jesus, believe it or not. On the way over to the Western, what they call the Western world. South America, Central America, North America, and all the islands all around the place that we like to go and cruising now. Our forefathers, some of them didn't make it. They were dumped into the Atlantic Ocean to save the ship. To keep the ship from going down, they dumped out all the slaves. So, we're talking about this language that we got under those conditions. Now, in the Ibarit, to get a better understanding of Baruch Atah, what Yahweh Shua actually was saying was, congratulations, you broke. Congratulations, you're being persecuted. You're being undermined. You're poor. You're destitute. You're hurt. You're misunderstood. He was saying congratulations, and they had the mountain quiet. You can hear a pin drop. What is this brother talking about? Are we hearing him right? He is literally saying congratulations? Oh my, he cannot really mean that. They have never... First of all, we already know that by this time we are in the second year of his ministry. He's already had 1 year, and we are in the second year of his ministry. And he's popular. That mountain is packed. You think it was... Who's the top singer right now? Who's the one that had the big problem with the Ticketmaster, and they had to cancel the
Taylor Swift.
Huh?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. You think Taylor Swift was up on the mountain? Place was packed. People got tickets to see Yahweh speak. You think it was Taylor Swift up there? It was packed. And so they down there hearing this man. He's saying they blessed, and here they are broke. And they broke. What is this brother talking about? Let's go into this. Now the thing, remember, 2 years ago, it took me over a year to teach the 54 Torah portions. And in summation, the Torah portions are the old... This is all from the book of Moshe, the 5 books. And what they do, actually, is if you receive Ruach HaKodesh, and if you can see it in the deeper layers of the Torah portions, it all points to an Old Testament understanding of Yahweh Shua, the New Testament before he got here. We didn't learn, I didn't teach the 54 Torah portions for the point of you trying to keep 666 commandments. It was for you to see how they pointed to the object of your desire, Yahweh Shua. You were supposed to see that. You should have fallen more in love with him. As a matter of fact, I followed up with the 54 Torah portions, I believe, with the greatest story ever told, which is a love story, Yahweh Shua. So I followed up with that series. We should have been falling in love with him after studying 54 Torah portions to see how he is so intimate with us in the smallest of ways as well as the biggest of ways. We should have understood the details. He left no stone unturned. Let me read. I have a whole list of scriptures to read about the makeup of the people at the base of this mountain, who they were, and what it means to us today. I'm not going to be able to read all that because I know I wouldn't have time. Zechariah 7, 8 through 14 is where I want to start from. So let's go with that. Let's go with that. Let's see. Zechariah 7. We're going to start at verse 18 and read all the way down to the end of the chapter. Then the word of Yahweh came to Zechariah, saying, Thus says Yahweh Sabaoth. Yahweh Sabaoth means Yahweh of hosts. And whenever this name and title is used, it's really showing the authority of Yahweh, that he is the host of all the creation. So he is sitting down and everyone is at his feet, just like right now Yahweh Shua is at the mountain and everyone is at his feet hearing the Beatitudes, all right, how your attitudes ought to be. Okay, so he is hosting everyone and he is speaking. Just like at your home, you have people over Thanksgiving. You stand up, you hit the glass, ting, 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 ting. Everybody listen to what you got to say because it's your house. You are the host and you run the show. So when Yahweh says Yahweh of hosts, that means I'm the man, I'm running the show. Listen, ain't nobody else talking, okay? This is what Yahweh is saying. Yahweh is saying, execute true justice. Show mercy and compassion, everyone to his brother. Do not oppress the widow or the fatherless, the alien or the poor. Let none of you plan evil in his heart against his brother. But they refused to heed, shrugged their shoulders, and stopped their ears so that they could not hear. What does the Pharisees do and scribes when Yahweh was talking? Stop their ears and ran after him, try to throw him off the cliff at least twice. They would literally stop their ears so they couldn't hear him talking. They didn't want that truth going into their ears, because once you hear something, you can't unhear it. Yes, they made their hearts like flint, refusing to hear the law and the words of Yahweh of hosts that he has sent by his Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, through the former prophets. So listen, this is Zechariah from the Old Testament laws of the blood and stone. Hear what he's saying. He's saying this is in the Old Testament now, what you call the Old Testament, that they refuse to hear his law. Wow, are you hearing the deeper message of that? They are keeping his law. They're keeping the blood and stone, all 600 plus of them. But this, Zechariah is saying they're not hearing it. So that means they're not really getting the purpose of the law. They're not hearing it. Their ears are stopped, their necks are stiffed. Thus, great wrath came from Yahweh Sabaoth. He keeps saying Yahweh of hosts. That means everybody's listening, should be listening. Therefore it happened that just as he proclaimed, and they would not hear, so they called out, and I would not listen. Says Yahweh Sabaoth. He keeps saying Yahweh of hosts over and over again. But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations which they had not known. Why? Because they would not hear. See? Because we would not hear. Not they, we, us. Us covenanted to him. He scattered us because we would not properly apply the law. We would not apply the law. Thus the land became desolate after them, so that no one passed through or returned, because they made the pleasant land desolate. So this is a future, because we have not been scattered through all the earth. One thing about this word, it is living. It is fresh, just like the newspaper today. So history repeats itself over and over again. So we know this happened, but it happened again and again and again. Multiple times, Yisrael has been emptied and replenished. Emptied and replenished. We know that if it's saying that it is empty, then apparently there's must not be Israel where it is now if it's empty. All right, that's a whole nother topic. But we see, because of our stiff-neckedness, that Yahweh spread us throughout the four corners of the world. Okay? And it's because of not keeping the law. But we know it couldn't have been that they was keeping the law, because they were keeping the law. They had the temple system in place. So apparently they were not keeping it as they should. You know, I'm not going to go to it, but Psalm 146 and 9. Remember, in what Zechariah is saying is that how they didn't keep the law was how, by not, the proving of how they did not keep the law, I hope you're getting this, was because they didn't exercise justice and mercy to the oppressed, the widow, the fatherless, and the poor. If you didn't get it, because your ears are dull, that the proper application of the law was how it applied to the treating of the poor, the oppressed, those who done unjustly. Did you get that? Please read Zechariah 7, 8 through 14, so you can get what he was laying down. If your heart is circumcised, if your neck is not stiff, if your ears are not dull, you will make the connection that the law was not kept in terms of its application to the poor. Okay, there's a common theme here. In Psalm 146 and 9, y'all talks about how he watches over the strangers and the fatherless and the widow. But he turns away the wicked upside down. Remember, Yahweh Shua said, congratulations that you're in this condition. Remember, he said that. And their jaws dropped. But if they could remember Psalm 146 and 9, that Yahweh turns away the wicked upside down. See, when Yahweh Shua comes, he says, I'm going to make the last first and the first last. So that means, congratulations. If you are on the back of the bus, don't worry. That's because he's going to come to put you up. You're going to be driving the bus. This is why he's saying congratulations, because today, while you're at the base of this mountain, me having access to your Father now is not through the temple, which in Zechariah says it did you wrong. That's why you're poor and being being done wrong and unjustly, is because your access to Yahweh through the temple system is improper way of accessing my Father. I am the new way, the refreshed way of accessing Him. Congratulations, here to me. Here I am. Here I am. I'm the man. Right here on this mountain. Congratulations, you have arrived to the actualization of this prophecy. Because Yahweh watches over the strangers and the fatherless and the widow. And He's going to turn the ways of the wicked upside down. He's going to make you, who are last, first. How about, let me go to, how about, I'm not going to go to all these. I'm just going to explain it. Psalm 113 and 9. Here, Yahweh says he makes the barren woman a home, like a joyful mother of children. You know, the worst thing for a Hebrew was not to have children. Because that means she was cursed, unloved by Yahweh, forgotten. Not part of the group, all on the back of the bus, not even on the back of the bus, outside of the bus. Behind the smoke pipe, breathing the fumes. You're not even on the bus. Because you're going to die childless. That's the worst thing for a sister. But Yahweh says he grants to the barren woman a home like a joyful mother of children. So she is not forgotten. Congratulations. How about Psalm 79 and 11? Let's talk about how Yahweh listens to the groanings of the prisoners. He says he keeps the prisoners before him. And he preserves those who are appointed to die. Those who are on ventilators. Those who are on respirators. Those who are just a breath away from death. He's watching over for them. Those who are sick and infirm. Those who are wrongly imprisoned. How many of your brothers are so off? What percentage of our brothers and sisters are in prison now because of the brutality of police, improper justice from the improper just us system? How many? Yahweh says, I got you. Congratulations. Here I am at this mountain. Here I am. Hinder me. Yahweh sure says, congratulations. I know you've been done wrong. I know you've been done unjustly. I know you are poor. I know you're playing a lottery trying to get the ticket, but your ticket was in the thicket. That's me. It's me. Let me go ahead to, I want to read this one, Psalm 102. I want to read this one. Yahweh for Christians, Yehonathan Dawid with here, Shalom Aleichem, peace be on you. Psalm 102, verses 13 through 22. And it reads, you will arise and have mercy on Zion, for the time to favor her. Yes, the set time has come. That means the appointed time. Okay, at his appointed time. For your servant's sake, pleasure in her stones, and show favor to her dust. So the nations will fear the name of Yahweh, and all the kings of the earth your glory. So we see, this is the set time for the future. The Yahweh will build up Zion. He will appear in his glory. He will regard the prayer of the destitute and will not despise their prayer. This will be written for the generation to come, that a people yet to be created may praise Yahweh. See, we weren't here yet when he being in slavery. This hadn't happened. The transatlantic slave trade hadn't happened yet. Because he looked down from the height of his sanctuary, from Hashemayim, Yahweh viewed the earth to hear the groaning of the prisoner. How many of our brothers and sisters are in prison unjustly? To release those appointed to death. To declare the name of Yahweh in Zion and his praise in Jerusalem. When the peoples are gathered together and the kingdoms to serve Yahweh. This is when all the world is gathered together. At the set time, Yahweh is there. Congratulations. He is not blind to your pain right now, brothers. He is not blind to your pain right now, sisters. Your sons are out there struggling to get a job. Your sisters are out, your daughters are out there. They got 3 children from 3 different men. We're on the bottom of everything good and the top of everything bad. Yahweh is with us. Yeshaya 1, 17 to 23. Isaiah 1, 17 to 23. And it reads, learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Are you seeing the common theme of the type of people that Yahweh has a heart for? Are you seeing the common theme? Are you picking up what this word is laying down? Come now and let us reason together, says Yahweh. Though your sins are like scarlet, they will be as pure as snow. Though they are reddish like crimson, they will be as wool. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat the good of the land. But if you refuse and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword, because the mouth of Yahweh has spoken it. How the faithful city has become a harlot. It was full of justice, righteousness lodged in it. But now murderers, your silver has become like dross, your wine mixed with water. Your princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. I gave you that song that Prince tried to tell you, the thieves in the temple. They're thieves in the temple. Everyone loves bribes and follows after rewards. They do not defend the fatherless. See, hear that? Nor does the cause of the widow come before him. Our leaders have led us astray. That's why we are scattered all over the world. That's why we're speaking English. That's why Israel is populated by someone else. This is why we are where we are. But Yahweh, you notice, it is the leaders that's going to get this greater judgment. You need to wake up. You need to receive the Ruach HaKodesh, receive the key of knowledge, Yahweh Shua, so you can break out of this box that they have put us in. You need to not wake up and then go ahead and try to keep the blood and stone of 66 that our forefathers couldn't do. You need to wake up to the true revelation of Baruch Atah. Because if you naming it and claiming it, blabbing and grabbing it, and you on the top of the world when Yahweh Shua comes, guess where you're going to be? According to this word, he didn't say, hey, the rich are blessed. It ain't nowhere in these scriptures, and I got a whole lot of them here, where it says, you have to understand this. We talk about spiritual warfare. What's the product of warfare? A whole lot of widows. A whole lot of fatherless. A whole lot of poverty from dead fathers and sons on the battleground. This is why Yahweh is for them. He is your assurance. He is your government check. Because your men have died in warfare. And right now we die in spiritual warfare. So Yahweh is for us. He is your father, your husband. He is your man. And because of warfare comes poverty. Because of bad leadership comes poverty. The temple was rich. I gave you the breakdown of the dollar amount of millions per year, but the people were poor. And Rome co-signed on it because as long as they got their taxes, which is why we hated the tax collectors, they didn't give a flip about how poor you were. They didn't care about how you sacrificed. They didn't care about what you circumcised your penis. They don't care about none of that. What you ate and what you didn't eat. Just pay your taxes, ninja. That's all you do. And you can go ahead and run that temple however you want it. It's when they kicked out against the Romans, is when they burned that thing down. And Yahweh let it happen because we weren't living right by it. And Yahweh is coming to receive those who are the product of spiritual warfare. Sticking with Isaiah 42, 6 and 7. I'm not going to read that one. But it says, Yahweh talks about how we are called to be the light to the Gentiles. That's what we're called for. Because we are his covenant people. We are to open the eyes of the blind. We are to visit the prisoners. One of the things I was trying to get into early on in my ministry was the prison ministry. I got all kinds of roadblocks to it. And now I'm definitely too busy for it now with this ministry. But we are to have a prison ministry. Their Hebrews need to be in the prisons. They got your Islamic brothers up in there. They're in there deep. They're in there deep. Our brothers coming out with the little bunny hats on, whatever. That's fine. Coming out with they coming out with education. Went in, didn't even have a GED. Spent 20 years in prison, come out, you got a master's degree. We need to be in those prisons, according to this word. I say let's stick to Yeshaya, Isaiah. Let's go over to chapter 61. Let's go over to chapter 61. And let's read verses 1 through 3. You know this one of the most popular scriptures, and one of the first ones that Yahweh Shua read from. The Ruach of Yahweh Elohim. Actually, it says the Ruach of the sovereign Yahweh is on me. Because Yahweh has anointed me to preach the Besorah, which you call the gospel, to preach the Besorah to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prisons to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh, and the day of vengeance to our mighty one, to comfort all who mourn. Congratulations. To console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the ruach of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness. Remember, he opened up the eyes of that blind man and he says, I see trees. I see men like trees. That Yahweh cleaned those eyes too well. Had to dial it back a little bit. That man saw into the future. That they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahweh, that he may be glorified. Yahweh sure didn't say he came for the rich, the mighty, those who are on the top of the world. He ain't come for Bill Gates. He came for those who are marginalized, disenfranchised, trampled upon. Because all these are done to them because of improper leadership, improper education, improper direction, instructions to access of his Father, who is life. Because under Yahweh's system, there was no poverty. Every 7 years, you was out of debt. Every 50 years, everything was equal status quo. That was the way it was set up in the system. For you who claiming that we're supposed to still be keeping all that blood and stone, that means every 7 years you need to be quitting your job. For 1 year, you need to have faith in Yahweh unemployed. But you're not doing that, are you? Yet you claim you want 2 and 3 wives. But I don't see you quitting your job every 7 years. I don't see you forgiving debts of your brother every 7 years. I don't see you doing none of that. I don't see anyone say, I'm going to live by faith in Yahweh and not work for 7 years. I mean, not every 7 years, not work for 1 whole year. I don't see anybody doing that. I don't see anybody forgiving debts because of the law. I don't see anybody doing that. So, what Yahweh Shua is saying here, I came for these people. I came for you right now here at the base of this mountain. Congratulations! Because you are exactly who I came to show, to reconcile you back to my Father. Baruch atah. Baruch atah, here I am, hinna me. Come through me to have access to your Father. No temple needed. Like Prince said, there are thieves in the temple. Remember, he turned over those temple tables. They was making plenty Benjamins through that system. Temple rich, people poor. People poor. Jeremiah 7, I'm not going to be able to read it because I already passed half an hour. Jeremiah 7, actually, you know what? I think I do want to read this one. This is too deep. Jeremiah 7, 1 through 15. I think I do want to read Jeremiah. But this one's it's just too deep to pass up. Jeremiah 7, 1 through 15. And it reads, this is trusting in lying words. The word that came to Jeremiah from Yahweh saying, stand in the gate of Yahweh's bayet, Yahweh's house, and proclaim there this word, and say, hear the word of Yahweh, all you of Yehudah. Talk to Yehudah here. will enter at these gates to worship Yahweh. So here we got Jeremiah, who you call Jeremiah. He's like the filter. Before you go in there to keep the blood and stone, you're going to hear what I got to say right here as you go in. Yahweh says, stand right here at the gate. So as they go in, their ears going to hear. They can't unhear what you're getting ready to tell them. Go up in there and keep this law of Moshe. All right? He said, go ahead. And you're going to hear this before you go in. Thus said Yahweh Sabaoth. Once again, Yahweh of hosts. Mighty one of Yisrael. Amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to live in this place. Do not trust in these lying words, saying, listen to what the great say in these lying words. The temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh. 3 times they say, in other words, this is cantation. They repent over the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh, the temple of Yahweh. Oh man, they just loving that. It's repeating it over and over again. How many times in this whole Bible do you see somebody repeat something 3 times? I believe this is the only time in the entire Torah where you have a repetitive phrase 3 consecutive times. Because if you thoroughly, in Matthew 14, Yahweh Shua says 3 times that their worm will not burn. I think it's Matthew 14, and he talks about the death of the wicked and their worm will not die. He says that he repeats that 3 times. Because if you, verse 5, if you thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment, here we go again, between a man and his neighbor, common theme. I hope you're getting this theme. If you do not oppress the stranger, the fatherless, the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, or walk after other mighty ones to your hurt, then I will cause you to live in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever. Look, you trust in lying words that cannot profit. Will you steal, murder, commit adultery, swear falsely? That's like part of the top 10 in 10 Commandments, which again was not new news from Sinai. When Moshe came down with those 10 Commandments, that was not new news. You didn't say all of a sudden, what? I can't go in my brother's tent and get his wife while he's out here at work? No, you always knew you couldn't do that. Why can't you get mad because I lost poker game and kill that man? No, you always knew you couldn't kill that man. You mean Cain didn't know he wasn't supposed to kill Abel? So he says, if you don't do these things and burn incense to Baal, which it means Lord, look the word up. Don't burn incense to the Lord and walk after other mighty ones whom you do not know. We didn't know no Lord God Jesus Christ until we got slavery. Hello, McFly. You know you didn't get Jesus until you got in slavery. Didn't know that in so-called Africa. You did not, mighty ones you did not know, and then come and stand before me in this house. This is y'all, you call Jeremiah, putting it down. Giving them an earful before they go in there to keep the blood and stone, which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all these abominations. See, they think, because they talking about this is the temple, this is the temple, this is the temple. We keep Moshe. They saying over and over again, we free to do all, we fine. We alright. Yeah, right. Has this house, which is called by my name, become a den of thieves? Prince tried to tell you. In your eyes, look, even I have seen it, says Yahweh. Verse 12. But go now to my place, which was in Shiloh. Remember the first temple meeting when they got into the Kodesh land by Joshua was at Shiloh. Okay, Yahweh said, hey, through Jeremiah, he said, all right, y'all gonna keep doing this, right? Check this out. Go back to Shiloh where I first had this temple, where I set my name at first, and see what I did to it because of the wickedness of my people. It's a dump heap, pile of poop and flies, ashes. That's what it is. Shiloh. Why? Because of how we worship Yahweh in the temple, how we treated our access to him. He says, and now because you have done all these works, says Yahweh, And I spoke to you, rising up early and speaking. I rose up early this morning. The prophets always get up early to teach, to be ready to teach this word of Yahweh. I do it every day. Speaking, and you did not hear. And I called, but you did not answer. Therefore, I will do to this house which is called by my name, in which you trust. The temple, the temple, the temple. See, you trust this temple, right? You put your trust and faith of your access to me, how you worship me in this temple. And to this place which I gave you, to you and your fathers, as I have done to Shiloh, which is an ash heap, and I will cast you out of my sight, as I have cast out all your brethren, the whole posterity of who? Ephraim. Isn't that the 10 tribes, Ephraim? And didn't he do that 40 years after his son resurrected and sat on the right hand of Yahweh, with the enemies being made his footstool? He had that temple burned down. That you are so much right now, just woke up, you woke up with an axe and a pick shovel, a pick shovel and an axe in hand, digging Moshe back up. When Yahweh burned the joint down, he burned it down and he buried Moses. And you woke up and trying to build that temple back up and raise up Moses' ashes. But nobody's hearing. And he did say, talk about earlier about hearing. Now, talking about the stranger. Didn't we hate the Samaritans? We hated them. But what did the two, in the parable of the Samaritans, the narrative of the Samaritans, two men came by, passed by. They were priests and teachers of the Torah. Not just two regular Joe Blows. Two teachers, two leaders, two teachers of the Torah walked past that man that Yahweh says was beaten half dead. Yahweh said the man was half dead. Yet leaders of the teachers of the book of Moshe walked past him on their way to worship in the temple. The same thing Jeremiah is talking about right here. These men are walking past Jeremiah to worship in the temple, improperly, being unjust, and just raping the poor. And doing wrong by the word of Yahweh. Being stiff-necked. The same way are you understanding it. Yahweh gave you the parable of the Good Samaritan. And who stopped to help this man? The man who was a stranger in Israel and hated by the Hebrews. One of the ones at the base of the mountain. Congratulations. One of the groups of the people at the base of the mountain. The ones who are hated and despised. Tax collectors. Whores. And we know you got 3 hoes or even played the hoe in the line of the Messiah. Did a lesson on that. 3 women who were whores or played the hoe. Messiah came through. So these are the ones at the base of the mountain. And we know plenty of them followed him too. Followed Yahweh Shua. But those who had the money and lived their best life, living their Snoop Doggy Dogg life, with their Coronas in hand, on the beach, chilling like a villain. They ain't at the base of the mountain. They already hit the lotto. They got it. They got the temple, the temple, the temple. Those who were the barriers to Yahweh Shua's teachings of the new access to his father stood to lose everything they had with the revelation of this new knowledge. This is why they hated him. This is why they stopped at their ears. This is why they tried to throw him off the cliff like the Azazel goat. This is why I even lost. I only got 52 people. I lost like 4 people just because I'm teaching the proper understanding of the law. We're not lawless here, y'all Christians. We teach the proper understanding of it. And the proper application of it And we're going to read some more of it today. So we see, and I gotta read on. Let's skip all the way down to verse 22 through 27 of Jeremiah 7. Let's go down to verse 22. The lion is roaring today. Because I did not speak to your father. Oh, listen to this part. This is why I wrote this down. Because I did not speak to your fathers or command them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mizraim. Now listen to this. Concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. Y'all should say, listen. When I brought you out, I didn't give you no rules and laws on a bunch of rules and laws. I didn't do that. Watch this. But this is what I commanded them, saying, obey my voice, and I will be your mighty one, and you will be my people, and walk in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well with you. Remember, Yahweh was coming down from the mountain Sinai for our marriage with his covenant people. We're the ones that shriek back in horror and fear. Moshe, we just going, whatever he say, we're going to do it. We don't want to hear what we don't want to hear. You tell us. Or did you forget? Or you trying to say you was humble and a righteous bride at the foot of the mountain, waiting to hear what Yahweh had to say and was going to go ahead and agree to it? No, we shrieked back. We didn't want to hear the words. So then Moshe had to go back up there, and Yahweh had to write them down, and then came down, and we was hoeing. Came down on 40th day, we was hoeing with the golden ox. Or did you forget? Then he sent us to the wilderness for 39 years to accumulate 600 plus blood and stone commandments. That's how it went down. Don't act self-righteous. And Jeremiah is reminding you right here that was not the original plan. That was not the original plan. He's letting you know right here, if your ears aren't dull. I read on in verse 24. Yet they did not obey nor incline their ear, but followed the counsels and the dictates of their evil hearts, and went backward and not forward. What did the word say? That he gave us, his people, not the Gentiles, not the world. He gave us his word, line upon line, precept upon precept, line upon line. For what? So you can stumble and fall backwards. People too often do not want to read that part. He didn't give it to you in all those details of 666 commandments, not 613. So you can go ahead and be righteous. It's so you can stumble and choke and stumble on the rock, which is Yahweh Shua. And right now he's saying, congratulations, I'm here now. Don't stumble on me. Stand on me. I'm your foundation. Don't trip. Don't slip. If your heart is not circumcised, if your ears are dull, if your neck is stiff, you're going to stumble. If you're not receiving the Ruach, the spirit of what I'm saying, you will stand on me, and the rain will come down, the storm will come, the waves will roar, and you will still be standing firm in me. Are you getting it? Do I need to have more people following? Should you not be sharing this? Should you not be subscribing and liking and sharing this? Because I ain't hearing it nowhere else. Not on social media anyway. By the way, like I said, I'm going to give Pastor Mike Williams his number again for the calling in for the lessons on Friday night, 7 o'clock, and for a Shabbat service at 11 for another lesson, and then at 2 o'clock for the main sermon. Number is 516-253-3286. 516-253-3286. And I don't know anybody out there who's teaching this correct application of what Yahweh Shua is teaching, that he was trying to give us at Sinai, and that Yahweh Shua was trying to give 2,000 years ago at the Mount of Olives, about the proper application of access to his Father. Verse 25. Since the day that your fathers came out of the land of Mizraim to this day, January 29th, 2023, I have even sent you all my servants, Yehonatan Dawid, the prophets daily rising up early and sending them. Are your ears dull? Because you are being too much of us are being like the teachers of the word and walk past the man half dead, and we had to be embarrassed by a Samaritan of all people treating that man right. He healed him up, took him to the inn, paid the fare, and said, when I come back, if more was spent on taking care of him in this hotel, I got ya. A Samaritan. Wasn't a Hebrew, but y'all hating the white man. And y'all hating the Jews. And y'all hating your brother, the Edomite. And y'all loving the old 8-track access to music. Y'all there got 8 tracks from the flea market and trying to put it in your 2023 G-Wagon. Looking like an idiot. Looking like a fool. And that's what they're going to look like when I go back to talking about Matthew 24. Am I going to go there today? Matthew 25. So, wow, I got so much here to read and I see my time right now. Jeremiah 22 now. Because Jeremiah, he puts it down. They did that brother wrong. I think he died by being hit upside the head with a rock by our people. They took him with them. I think he died in Egypt, if I remember the narrative properly. Did this brother wrong. Did him wrong. Put him in a hole, put him in a ditch. For what? Telling the truth. Congratulations. Just like Yochanan the Baptist had his head chopped off. Congratulations. See, at the foot of that mountain, their jaws was dropping to this sermon. It was like, what? What is this brother talking about? They have never heard anybody speak like that, first of all. And then the substance of the message was just glass onion shattering. Look at that movie. I keep referencing to it because the narrative of what it speaks to what I'm speaking to right here. Outside the box understanding of Yahweh Shua, the key of knowledge. Jeremiah 22 verses 3 to 5. Let's see, 22. Man, I'm laying this word down today. 22, 3 to 5. Let's see. And I'm trying to find it in my old man eyes. Thus says Yahweh, execute judgment and righteousness, and deliver the plundered out of the hand of the oppressor. Common theme. Do no wrong and do no violence to the stranger. Like Samaritans. The fatherless or the widow, products of war. Nor shed innocent blood in this place. Because if you indeed do this thing, then will enter the gates of this house, riding on the horses and the chariots. Remember, Jeremiah stood in the gate. Accompanied by my servants and people, kings, who sit on the throne of Dawid. So if you do what's right, you're going to sit. Remember, in Revelations 1, talked about one of the 7 so-called churches, they get the rule of Yahweh. We get thrones too. If you do what? Keep this law of how you treat your brothers and your enemies. Wow, your enemies? Wow, we ain't treating our brothers right, let alone our enemies. But if you will not hear these words, if you don't shema, if you lo shema, I swear by myself. Yahweh is swearing here. And he's raising and he swear to himself because ain't nobody higher to swear to. So he's got to swear by his own name. You know how people swear to something? Yahweh swears too. But he swears to his own name. Because ain't nobody higher than him. He says, I swear by myself that this house will become a desolation. Did it not become a desolation 40 years after Yahweh Shua ascended? Because thus says Yahweh, well, it goes on. I'm not going to. I'm telling you, man, oh man, I'm laying down this word today. Ezekiel chimes in. I'm not going to read it on half time. Ezekiel chimes in on chapter 22, verses 6 and 7. Talks about our leaders who teach disrespect. Remember, to the parents. Remember, they said that if you say the word Khorasan, that means you don't have to pay your parents, take care of your parents. This is what they taught right here in the time of Yahweh. Our leaders taught that. You didn't have to take care of your aging parents. Put them in a nursing home, they said. They taught you put your parents in a nursing home. They just, that's the way it is. Whatever you gave them as growing up, that's it. This is what our leaders taught. And Ezekiel says that we are not, this is in Ezekiel 22, we should be oppressing the stranger or the fatherless and the widow. See the common theme. Keep saying the same thing over and over again. You go. The common theme. Of course I need to come close to finishing this. I know it wasn't. I'm going to again go to Matthew 25. That's 25 verses 31 to 46. That's where I'm going to start off. Because we're talking about this theme of who Yahweh Shua is preaching to at the base of this mountain. These jewels at the base of the mountain that are not respected or loved today. Until then, your home time, we view here. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be on you.
Let's go to Jordan.